8 new charges in total have now been authorised against Andrew and Tristan Tate, bringing the total number of charges faced to 59. The charges relate to 7 victims, spanning a period from 2010 to 2017.
Right now, as you're watching this, 2 of the most famous men on the internet are sitting inside a federal detention center in downtown Miami. No supercars, no private jets, no cameras, just a locked door, a concrete wall, and a clock that is running out. And in the last few days, something happened inside that courtroom that changed the entire shape of this case, because on August 13th, Andrew and Tristan Tate were finally supposed to get their moment. The motion had been filed. The judge was ready. The hearing was on the calendar. This was the day they would stand up and fight for their freedom. And then it vanished. The hearing was pushed back to August 27th. And here's the detail that stopped people cold. It was not the prosecution that asked for the delay. It was not the judge. It was the Tates' own legal team, who told the court they needed more time to answer what the United States government had just filed against them. The men who built an empire on the idea that they are untouchable just asked the court to slow down. And while they wait behind that door, a deadline is running in London. Britain now has until the middle of September to deliver the full evidence package that could put both brothers on a plane across the Atlantic into a country where they are facing 59 criminal charges. 59. Stay with me, because the part about who makes the final decision is the part almost nobody is talking about. Let's go back to how they ended up here, because the speed of this collapse is genuinely hard to believe. For years, Andrew Tate operated like a man who had figured out a cheat code. Romania, house arrest, court appearances, endless legal noise. And every single time he walked back out in front of a camera, sunglasses on, cigar lit, telling the world it was all a conspiracy. He turned every court date into content, every accusation into engagement, every setback into a video that got 10 million views. And in February of 2025, it looked like the cheat code had worked one last time. Romanian authorities lifted the travel restrictions that had kept the brothers inside the country. Within days, a private jet touched down in Fort Lauderdale. The Tates were back on American soil, and Andrew was posting online about the good old days returning. That flight is the single most important decision in this entire story, because it put both men inside the reach of a country that has one of the most reliable extradition relationships in the world with the United Kingdom. They walked into the net themselves. Then came July 18th, 2026. United States Marshals arrested Andrew and Tristan Tate in Miami. Not local police, not a state investigation. Federal officers acting on a formal extradition request from the British government. And it was not a random sweep. It was timed. Just before the arrest, British authorities filed 38 brand new sex crime charges against the brothers. 38 added on top of what they already faced. That is what brought the combined total to 59 criminal charges in England. Here's how it breaks down. Andrew Tate, 39 years old, faces 42 charges: rape, human trafficking, assault, and charges relating to indecent images of a child and extreme pornography. Tristan Tate, 38, faces 17 charges, including rape, sexual assault, and trafficking offenses. The Crown Prosecution Service says the alleged offenses were reported by 7 women. They are said to have taken place in the east of England, north of London, across a 7-year window from 2010 to 2017. The new charges came after British police investigated reports from 4 additional alleged victims. Both brothers deny every single allegation. They have denied them consistently in every country for years. Their lawyers say they are innocent and will fight all of it. But denial does not stop a warrant. And on that Saturday in July, the warrant arrived. 2 days later, they were in front of a Miami federal judge. It was brief, it was procedural, and then they were taken to the Federal Detention Center in Miami, where they have been held ever since. And this is where the story takes the turn nobody in the Tate universe was prepared for. Their attorney, Joseph McBride, told reporters outside the courthouse that as accused child sex offenders, the brothers have a seat index 11.1 target on their backs, seat inside that facility. Reporting indicates they are being held in a separate unit, kept apart for their own protection. Understand what that means in plain terms. The Top G brand was built on dominance, on the idea that these are the hardest men in any room, and now the argument being made on their behalf in open court is that they are not safe in general population. Andrew's account on X has stayed active this entire time, posting about what he describes as mistreatment inside. The Empire is still broadcasting, but the man behind it is not going anywhere until a judge says so. And so far, no judge has said so. Now, here's where you need to understand something about American extradition law, because this is the wall that Tates have run into. In a normal criminal case in the United States, bail is the expectation. You're presumed innocent. You show up to court. You go home. Extradition is not a normal criminal case. In extradition proceedings, there is a presumption against release. The default is that you stay in custody. To get out, you cannot just argue that you're a nice guy with strong roots in the community. You have to prove what the courts call special circumstances, a high, narrow, unusual bar. Their defense team filed exactly that motion on August 7th, and the argument they built is genuinely clever. They argued that the brothers' enormous public profile makes fleeing nearly impossible. These are men who post their location constantly, who cannot walk through an airport unnoticed, who are recognized in every city on Earth. They argued the Tates have already proven they are not a flight risk, because they complied with pretrial restrictions in Romania for years and showed up to every hearing. In other words, our fame is our bail. It is a bold argument. And on August 10th, the United States government filed its answer. Prosecutors did not hold back. They argued the brothers are both a flight risk and a danger to the community. They pointed to the nature of the pending British charges, human trafficking, violent rape and assault allegations involving multiple alleged victims, and they raised something else that changed the temperature of the entire filing. Allegations from Romania that the Tate brothers attempted to intimidate witnesses. Sit with that. In a bail fight, that is close to the worst possible thing on the record. Because the question a judge is weighing is not only whether you will run it, is whether the people who accused you're safe while you're outside. That filing landed on a Monday. The hearing was Thursday, and the defense asked for more time. That is the moment. August 13th, Magistrate Judge Lauren Lewis granted the request and moved the hearing to August 27th because lawyers for the Tates said they needed longer to respond to what the prosecutors had put in front of the court. Now let's be fair and accurate here, because this matters. Requesting extra time is a completely normal, routine defense move. Lawyers do it constantly. It is not proof of anything, but look at what it cost them in this specific situation. Every extra day of preparation is another 14 days inside a federal detention center. They chose more time over a faster shot at freedom. That is a strategic decision that tells you how seriously they are taking the government's case. And here's the number that puts the whole thing in perspective. By the time that rescheduled hearing finally happens, Andrew and Tristan Tate will have spent almost 6 weeks locked up before a single judge has even ruled on whether they should be locked up at all. No trial, no verdict, no finding of guilt on any of these charges. Just a file moving slowly through a system and 2 men sitting in a cell while it moves. So that is the American side. Now let's talk about the part the title of this video promised you, Britain, because while the bail fight plays out in Miami, the real machinery is grinding forward across the ocean, and it is on a hard clock. Under the terms of the process, the United Kingdom has until roughly the middle of September to submit its full formal evidence package to the United States State Department. That is the document that has to satisfy American requirements for extradition to move forward. Witness statements, charge documents, the evidentiary foundation for all 59 counts. The Crown Prosecution Service has been building this for years. The investigation runs through Bedfordshire Police and Hertfordshire Constabulary. A European arrest warrant was issued in England back in 2024, which is why a Romanian court had already ruled 2 years ago that the brothers could be extradited to Britain once Romania was finished with them. Britain has never let go of this case, not once. It just kept building quietly while the world watched the noise. And here's the detail that should tell you how serious the British side considers this. Assistant Chief Constable Karina Thomas, announcing the arrest, framed it around a refusal to tolerate male violence against women and girls, and a commitment to keep investigating every report made to them. That is not the language of a police force that intends to let a deadline slip, which raises the question everyone is asking. If the evidence lands, is it over? Not quite. And the reason why is the most politically explosive part of this entire story. Because at the very end of the American extradition process, after the courts have done their work, the final decision does not belong to a judge. It belongs to the Secretary of State. Marco Rubio has, in the words of the Justice Department's own court filings, less than to index 28-1 sole discretion. CT to block the extradition if he believes the brothers are being politically persecuted. And that is precisely the door the Tate legal team has been trying to walk through since day one. Their attorney has publicly called the British charges politically motivated, describing the case as Seat Index 32.1, a political hit ordered by a dying empire. Seat, the strategy is not subtle. Frame this as a free speech prosecution. Frame it as a foreign government coming after two American citizens for their opinions, and hope that the argument reaches the one desk in Washington that can end the entire thing with a signature. For a while, a lot of people assumed that was exactly how this would go. The Tates spent years cultivating support on the American right. Andrew publicly celebrated the 2024 election result. And when Romania lifted their travel ban in early 2025, reporting indicated the Trump administration had raised the brothers' case with Romanian authorities beforehand. So the assumption was simple: they have friends, they will be fine. Except that is not what has happened. A senior State Department official has stated that Rubio has not spoken to the Tate brothers or their lawyers, and that the department has no plans to act on their effort to fight the request. A senior administration official told reporters that the United States has an extradition treaty with the United Kingdom, and the administration intends to honor it in this case. Sources familiar with the matter say President Trump is not expected to get involved. The White House has signaled the brothers should not expect help. Read that again, because it is the single biggest development in this entire saga. The escape hatch the Tates were counting on has, at least for now, been closed from the inside. That does not mean it is locked forever. Political winds shift, pressure campaigns work. The manosphere audience is enormous and loud, and the final call is still months away. But right now, in August of 2026, the door is shut, and that leaves them with the courts. Meanwhile, the reaction internationally has been sharp. The United Nations Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women and Girls, Reem Al-Salem, publicly welcomed the extradition proceedings, calling them an important step toward accountability. Her statement noted that women who came forward with allegations against the brothers had spent years watching those testimonies go nowhere, and framed the current proceedings as renewed hope that international cooperation might finally deliver something. That is a rare intervention. The UN does not typically weigh in on individual bail hearings. The fact that it did tells you how this case is being read outside the online argument, not as a culture war story, but as a test of whether cross-border prosecutions of this kind can actually function. And there's more circling. Andrew Tate faces a civil case in the United Kingdom brought by 4 women who accuse him of rape and coercive control, a separate legal track that does not stop just because he is in a Miami cell. There's a Florida state inquiry that was opened after the brothers arrived in the country in 2025, and the Romanian file, the one that started all of this back in December 2022, is still technically alive. That Romanian case is its own strange chapter. Prosecutors indicted the brothers in 2023 on charges including rape and human trafficking. But in December 2024, the Bucharest Court of Appeal ruled the case could not proceed to trial and sent it back over flaws in the indictment. It has been stuck ever since, which creates a genuine question nobody has answered yet. If Romania has an unresolved case and Britain has 59 charges, and Florida has an open inquiry, who gets them first? So what actually happens next? August 27th is the date to circle. That is when Judge Lewis hears both sides and decides whether Andrew and Tristan Tate walk out of that detention center or stay inside while the extradition process runs its course. If she grants release under special circumstances, expect an explosion of content within hours. Expect the narrative to become a victory story immediately. If she denies it, and remember, the legal presumption in extradition cases leans that way, then the brothers are looking at months in that facility, because after bail comes the British evidence deadline in mid-September. After that comes an extradition hearing, and no date has even been set for that yet. After that come appeals, and only after all of that does the file reach the Secretary of State. Every one of those stages can take weeks, some can take months. None of them is a trial. None of them decides guilt. And that is the strangest, darkest truth at the center of this whole story. Nothing that is happening in Miami right now is punishment. No court has convicted either brother of anything. What we are watching is not justice being delivered. It is justice being delayed in a system where the waiting itself has become the story. Two men who spent a decade telling the world that rules were for other people are now discovering something they cannot post their way out of. Not a verdict, not a sentence, a schedule. The next hearing is August 27th. Britain's evidence deadline is mid-September. And the man who holds the final word has already said he has no plans to use it. Every single week from here changes the picture, and when it moves, it is going to move fast. Subscribe and turn on notifications right now, because when that courtroom door opens on the 27th, you're going to want to hear it here first.